Hey guys, so I'm going to give you chapters 3 and 4 in this video. So the biopsych, behavioral neuroscience, whatever you want to call it, and sensation and perception. Kind of little bits extra in here. The other thing I wanted to mention is that yes, your exam has not been posted for you to take. What I have found before is that students prefer an exam review. So I don't give you guys a study guide or anything like that, but I give you guys a blueprint to give you an idea of how many questions are coming from each section and also what I'm looking for. The problem with the online courses on my end that my students like is apparently my voice changes on things that I know are on the exam. And I don't mean to it, it's totally subconscious. Like, we got some Freud there going in. Totally subconscious, but they know, like, for some reason when my tone changes or my hands or something like that, that I like it. And with this online platform that we have right now, you guys aren't getting that. So I wanted to give you guys all the tools that you need to succeed. Um, so with the biopsych section, some things I like, or some things that I think you should target your focus on, because it's a lot, and I know it's a lot. Um, but some things that like your mind should focus on are those neurotransmitters. What is a neurotransmitter? How do they communicate? Action potentials. But how do they communicate? What is dopamine? What does dopamine do? Why is dopamine important? I'm going to tell you right now, dopamine you're probably going to see from now until the end of class. And I say this one a lot, the limbic system. The limbic system from now until, I'm going to say the end of time, from now until the end of time. The four parts of the limbic system from chapter 3 on, I think, are in every single chapter. And I'm really big on building off prior knowledge. So not only do I teach psych, but I also teach math and English. And I'm really big on to build a house, you need a strong foundation, right? If you have cracks in the foundation and you build a house on it, house gonna collapse. So these four chapters are your foundation chapters. Everything that you're going to do for the rest of this course is to build off of that and apply your knowledge. And the reason why this is important is because when you get to a 4-year college, they're not just going to say, who is Freud? They're going to make sure that you can take that knowledge and apply it to other things. So this particular exam is going to be, who is Freud? And you regurgitate back. What is the amygdala? Regurgitate back. So, but I want to give you the heads up of the limbic system right now. Flashcards it now until the end of time. So, your four parts of the limbic system are going to be your amygdala, your hypothalamus, your thalamus, and your hippocampus. Little seahorse. Um, your amygdala is very important, especially when you get into chapter 4. The amygdala is the part that puts smell to memories. It also has to do with fear and emotion and lots of other things in the amygdala. But I'm just going to talk for this particular section. So what happens is, and I like to make fun of myself. So when I was 16, there was this guy, his name was Brian Winthrop, and he worked with me, and I was 16 and he was 17, and he wore Abercrombie Fierce. And he was like one of those surfer guys. Like I said, I like to make fun of myself. So and I remember him being attractive. I can't tell you what he looks like now. But I remember that smell of Abercrombie Fierce. And I would associate Abercrombie Fierce with attractive men. So Paul purposely doesn't do this. Paul's my boyfriend. Paul doesn't do this, but that's one of the things I associate. Some of the other things you might associate are like grandma's cookies being, a happy time. My dad passed away, so there are certain smells that remind me of my dad. And it doesn't always have to be like, for me, I cry. So not, I mean, so we have these smells that can release, that can bring us back to certain memories and release certain emotions. So that's what your amygdala is doing, especially in chapter 4, because a lot of these connect. Your hypothalamus, that's just going to keep your internal state. So What happens is you get sick. I'm not going to use a particular illness that's going on right now, but you get sick and you get a fever and you're in 100.3 temp. Your hypothalamus is trying to work to bring that back down to that 98.6 or whatever your normal is. It's trying to keep that internal state. So that's what your hypothalamus is doing. Your thalamus is relaying sensory information. So the fact that I'm doing this and touching this finger or I'm touching my arm, that's senses, right? This is touching my hair, blah, 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 like, right? So the thalamus is taking all that sensory information and trying to make sense of it for the brain. And then your hippocampus, the one that I always remember with the hippocampus, or your little seahorse, is that's going to deal with your memories. So when we get to cognitive psych, boom, hippocampus. So I would know those four from now to whenever this class ends. And if you see me in another course like child or adolescent development, guess what? Limbic system. If you take another psych course, I bet you the limbic system is going to come up there somewhere. So limbic system, now and a time. There usually is labeling on the exam for the brain. I couldn't figure out how to do that. So I would know those parts of the brain. There's a really nice picture that has the four lobes, the cerebellum, or the cerebrum, excuse me, the cerebellum, this whole thing, and the brainstem. I would know kind of what those do. Like, what does the frontal lobe do? What does that prefrontal cortex do? So those are some things I would know. I would know the parts of the neuron. Other things that I find helpful are the quizzes. I like using those questions on your exam too, because those are things I find important. Like, how do neurons communicate? Neurons communicate with action potentials. I think I said neurotransmitters before. It's been a day. But neurons do not use neurotransmitters. They don't use monkeys. They don't use, I have my cat Loon over there. They don't use Loon action potentials. So those are things you might find helpful. And sorry, the lighting in this room is horrible, but I don't feel like going outside right now. I'm trying to think of some other things that I find are particularly important with this chapter. The phrenology, that's another thing that I think is really cool when we talk about personality, with the feeling the bump. Like, I have a bump right here on my head. Does that mean I'm shy? No, it doesn't. But there is a place in Philly called the Mutter Museum where like you could see all those phrenology skulls. Very cool. If you're into like cool sciencey, like weird science, Mutter Museum's where it's at. I obviously come from up that way, so I'm biased. But I'm trying to think of some things that people usually have questions on. With dopamine, since I'll just come back to that, dopamine is the pleasure center of the brain. And serotonin is the happy neurotransmitter. Well, Professor Chase, aren't they the same thing? No. So your book talks about drug abuse and dopamine and how, people that usually abuse drugs have high dopamine because of the pleasure center. But a lot of you probably don't relate to using drugs. Just saying. Maybe you do. So I like to go with something that we're probably all going to do in our life or we've done already. We probably all had sex, or we're going to at some point in life. And sex is pleasurable, hopefully, and in a consensual way. But sex is enjoyable. And it's enjoyable and pleasurable because of the dopamine. Now, when you're running around at Disney World, because I'm a Disney freak, you're not getting pleasure from Disney. You're feeling happy from Disney. And that's where the serotonin kicks in. So those are the difference between the two. And to give you, since we're talking about neurotransmitters, to give you an idea of how a neuron works and how they communicate. And by the way, I am a horrible artist, so I know they look like sunshines with legs, but it's how I draw. So, and here's my next sunshine. Okay, so, really bad drawing, but these are my two neurons, right? And And I'll also show you another way after my drawing. But these are my two neurons. And what they do is that this is my soma, or my head. And it's going to go down. It's going to actually, there's little blocks here, with the myelin sheath. And it's going to transfer the message here. And here's where the neurotransmitters are released. So if you've ever seen a antidepressant commercial with like an SSRI and MAOIs and things like that, what an SSRI is just making sure that serotonin can be released. But now I'm just drawing, and I'm a horrible artist, right? This is horrible. So let me show you how a neuron works in a way that you all understand. So what I need you to do, and I don't have the plug here for me, but I need you to grab your cell phone charger. Okay? Tell me, I'll give you a minute, but grab your cell phone charger. Now, what I like to usually make this part is the plug. Part that I have it. Here it is. This right here is my cell body. Right there. This here is my axon. It's white. Well, the inside, the wiring inside here is my axon. All the information, right? That's going to make sure that when I plug this in, my phone's going to charge. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever had this. I get this all the time. But when you start using this charger and you're bending it and you're bending it and bending it, doesn't this plastic white start coming off? And your phone doesn't charge as quickly, right? You gotta go get a new charger. Well, you wait a bit and you might peel at it like I do for a while because I gotta keep my hands busy. But this white on the outside, I consider that my myelin sheath. Because without this, my phone charges slower. So for example, there is a disease that you may have heard of called multiple sclerosis, or MS. And what that is that the myelin sheath is deteriorating, making the message transfer slower. So for example, I don't know where my pencil just went. So I'm going to use this picture here. So see how I poorly drew some blocks there? I know, I'm really bad, guys. I'm sorry. So what happens is the message goes over the blocks. It's like boop, boop, boop. So that's why when you move, you can go like this. You know, there's a B at you, boop. B at you, get out of my face. Top down, bottom up processing. All that. So what happens with multiple sclerosis is that deteriorates. So instead of the message going boop, 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 it's going like this. So is my message being transferred really quickly with this? No. No, it is not. Same with your cell phone charger. So keep that in mind. Sorry, I have a little pop-up that just came up behind me. Let me submit this. Anyway, and then I got little lines on the bottom end of my charger, right? I consider those my dendrites, because that's going to plug in to my phone and release the electric, or your neurotransmitters, to your phone. So now, when I plug it in, I'm plugging it into my computer, but now it's going to charge. So if that helps you understand the neuron, I don't know why this keeps doing this. I'm sorry, guys. So that is how your neurons are going to work. So we talked about neurons, we talked about neurotransmitters, we talked about lobes of the brain. I'm trying to think of it. Oh, central and peripheral nervous system and your autonomic nervous system. So, okay. And I'm trying to find a good spot so this way the lighting is not horrible. But I love the sunshine. So, central nervous system, brain, spine, peripheral, arms. Right? Arms, legs. But something else you are going to need to know from now until the end of time. I'm going to move you guys over here. Oh, there we go. So, Central nervous system. Yes, Wonder Woman cut. Okay. You have, so your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system, but then you have this other one called autonomic. What does that even mean? It just means some kind of automatic behaviors that your body does. So for example, we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic, and there's a nice picture in your slides from my nursing book that I find are helpful. So the sympathetic is going to be that fight or flight. You've probably heard of the 4 F's: fight, flight, feeding, and mating. You can come up with your fun F1 for that. So this one we're going to do fight or flight. Sympathetic. We're very stressed out. So I like to make fun of myself. One of the things that I have a fear of, irrational, completely doesn't make sense fear, is of Kermit the Frog. I will let you guys laugh. Okay, so what happens is that if Kermit the Frog is in front of me, I'm either going to punch him in the face, which is going to be my fight, or I'm going to run away. That is my flight. And the reason why we get like this, that fight or flight, is due to adrenaline, which is also called epinephrine. So for those of you who ever have had an EpiPen because you're allergic to something like bees or nuts, like this one, epinephrine, adrenaline, same thing. So it's the same thing as if you are driving down 19 and you're in the left lane, and everybody I know in the left lane does 70 miles an hour, okay? So you guys, 19, you're driving, you're listening to your music. What were we listening to last semester? Post Malone, Circles. So you're listening to your music, whatever, and then I come in, cut you off, and then do 40. Left lane. What do? You're going to give me the middle finger, probably. Probably going to yell at me. Road rage right there. Thank God that you did not die, or that you did not hit your car into mine, even though now you kind of want to. And your body's going to be shaken, like mine does all the time. My body shakes, my heart rate, it feels like my heart just jumped up to my throat. It's horrible. That's your fight or flight, guys. That's your sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic stress, SS. That's how I remember things. Dependent variable, data, DD. That's how my brain works. So, 2, that parasympathetic is that rest or digest. So that's the way that these two systems work together. And I'm doing this from, I guess, my nursing aspect, but another way to think of this too, to combine them, though you're not for the exam, you're going to know these are different, is we are running from a tiger, okay? And we're running, and we're running, and we're running, and now I'm hungry, because I'm Sicilian. I got to eat all the time. So I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running. Do I just say, hey, hold up a second, let me go get something to eat. I'm kind of thirsty. Can you just hold up, tiger? Let me just. Okay, we're good. We can go now again? No. No, you're gonna die. So, what your body does in that sympathetic nervous system, your digestion slows. So while you're running, you're not getting hungry. Doesn't matter how Sicilian you are, you ain't eating. But when you finally get to rest, now you can get hungry, because now I found a cave, and I'm hiding, and tiger kind of gave up, and now I could be like, okay, I'm good now. That's how those work. So those are things I find important from chapter 3. Chapter 4 was sensation and perception, and I know your syllabus does not mention chapter names or page numbers or anything like that, kind of because I jump around the textbook. Because to me, this is foundation stuff, and then we jump into cognitive psych. And for cognitive psych, that can be brutal for some. So after cognitive psych, we jump towards the end of the book to social psych, and then we'll come back to that emotion, motivation, regulation, all that, but this way you get some nice breaks. This way it's not like learn for like 8, 9 chapters, and then fun. If that was me, after the 4th chapter, my brain would be like, nope, I'm out. So I tried to separate it to make it a little bit more manageable for your brain. Make this more enjoyable, because psych is fun. So Sensation and perception is chapter 4. With this particular chapter, the limbic system comes up. You got the amygdala. I would know about the gate perception theory. What exactly is that? I don't know. I would know about the Gestalt principles. You know, the nice pictures with the, I always say the tree and the monkey because that's usually on the exam. It's not. Um, the where you see like two pictures, like the vase or the faces, like figure ground. That's one. The similarity, the continuing, things like that. I would know those. Um, I'm not looking at your slides. So I'm trying to think of what else from sensation and perception. So with sensation and perception, what it is that when we sense things and the way that we perceive them are two different ways. So obviously I can put my hand on that hot stove and I'm gonna sense that this is hot. Well, it's gonna, I'm gonna get a sense. And how I perceive it is gonna be me removing my hand. Um, that comes also into play, I guess, with top-down and bottom-up processing. I would know those, 100%. I would know the Stroop effect. I would watch those videos. There are videos for a reason. There are. I find that sometimes reading top-down and bottom-up processing doesn't work for me. I'm a very visual learner. So sometimes the videos of you actually seeing it in action is helpful. So it is kind of like a crash coursey kind of thing. It's not a fun, The Office or anything like that. It's a crash course kind of video, but it might explain that better for you. For the auditory learners, hopefully, listening to it makes a little bit more sense. And the kinesthetic, go and turn all the lights off and go walk around your house at 2 o'clock in the morning and tell me how that works for you. Um, So I would know the bottom up, top down processing Stroop effect. And the Stroop effects, where you have the color of the word, like it says black, but it's in a blue color, and you have to read the color of the word, not the word itself. So, like, let's say this would say, I don't know, red, but you'd have to read it as white. So that's another thing with the Stroop effect. I'll probably make another one on sensation perception. Because my brain, I'm trying to think of what else is on those slides off the top of my head. But I think right now this is okay enough. I've been talking for about 22 minutes. So, like I said, yes, I know your exams have not been posted for you to take. It's because I assume you guys want an exam review. If you don't, let me know. Those discussion posts, I'd like you guys to respond to each other, but this is already an accelerated course. It's already been tough with, everything else that's going on in the world. I know a lot of you guys work more than you were prior. You might be in healthcare or Publix or wherever, so your kids might be home, whatever it is. So I'd like you guys to respond to each other, but if not, NBD. I'm pretty easygoing. I'm very flexible. I just, like I said, I want you guys to succeed. Also, with your papers, if you want to start sending me your articles, so I can tell you if it's like a good article or not, you are more than welcome to. But otherwise, that is it, guys. I'm going to let you guys go. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.